speak through Fox News and let the independents who are tuning into you, let them know what it is that she stands for, the principles behind her positions.
It used to be that new candidates were advised to brush up on the issues so they could handle questions from anyone, even tough questions. The idea behind that was that it prepared you also for actually governing. But now the advice to candidates is only to talk to sympathetic reporters.
We need to start now by electing strong leaders who aren't afraid to shake it up. We need strong, principled leaders, public servants who respect our Constitution.
Also tonight, conservative groups saying all this talk of anti-bullying programs in school is really just a way to spread what they call a gay agenda. But can you prevent kids from bullying other kids without talking about what a big chunk of the bullying is actually about? Two sides square off tonight. I'll have an eye-opening talk also with kids about just how bad bullying has become. And Ellen DeGeneres joins me to find out what she's doing now to reach kids in need. Known in the spirit of keeping them honest, we would love to talk with a whole string of Republican candidates, including Sharon Angle, Christine O'Donnell, Rand Paul, and others, but kind of giving us the cold shoulder. As for Democrats, Congressman Sanford Bishop is also dodging us. We've asked him on to talk about his diversion of money from Congressional Black Caucus scholarship funds into, well, he gave those scholarships to some of his relatives and friends of people on his staff. The invitation remains open. He's running in a re-election. We're not sure why he's not willing to talk to us, but the invitation stands. We're going to keep asking. Also a reminder that the live chat is up and running at ac360.com. Coming up next tonight, a young gay man's suicide, sparking a battle over how to prevent bullying between those who say it's vital to talk about sexuality in schools because the bullies sure do, and those who call that kind of program recruitment for what they say is a gay agenda. Two sides square off ahead. We'll also talk to kids who experience bullying firsthand. If you think maybe this isn't a really big problem, you want to hear from these kids. It's really an eye-opening discussion. And later, my conversation about bullying with Ellen DeGeneres.
You know, it's not a compliment. It doesn't sound like, you know, that's so gay. It's not going up. It's that's so gay. Like, so if we changed it, maybe that's so gay. You know, like, maybe we change the inflection and we can turn the whole thing around.
Problem of bullying in America and what appears to be a recent epidemic of kids killing themselves after being bullied. I spoke about it tonight with Ellen DeGeneres, who's also making this a big part of her programming, and we're going to bring you what she had to say later on in the program tonight. And in a moment, my conversation with kids who've seen this up close, what they say. Well, frankly, it's going to stun you, really open my eyes. If you think it's not a big deal or not so bad, you need to hear what these kids have to say. The conversation I had with these kids is one that some schools don't allow if the discussion veers into sexuality or perceptions of people's sexuality. A number of conservative groups right now are saying that anti-bullying education is being used to spread what they call a gay agenda. That's the argument being made right now in Minnesota. I want to show you a teenager who recently took his life in Minnesota. His name is Justin Auberg. He lived in Anoka outside Minneapolis. He was 15 years old when he hanged himself in July. His mom says he was bullied at school. Justin was gay. He was also a talented cellist. We found this tribute to him online, set to music that he composed and performed himself. Since Justin's death, his mom, Tammy, has been fighting to change policy in the local school district because it doesn't specifically address sexuality, even though it's at the root of so many bullying cases. Here's what Tammy said about it last night on Larry King.
They don't have gay or lesbian or gender identity language in their harassment policy at all. And the one that they have now, too, with curriculum is the neutrality policy. And so teachers don't even know how to intervene in a lot of issues when kids are being bullied or called names.
So we wanted to look at this. Here's what the Anoka-Hennepin school policy word for word says. Quote, teaching about sexual orientation is not a part of the district-adopted curriculum. Rather, such matters are best addressed within individual family, homes, churches, or community organizations. It goes on, Anoka-Hennepin staff, in the course of their professional duties, shall remain neutral on matters regarding sexual orientation, including but not limited to student-led discussions. So this is exactly how some in the community want to keep it. A group called the Minnesota Family Council warns about gay activists using Justin's death to push what they call a gay agenda. Minnesota Family Council President Tom Pritchard told the Minneapolis Star-Tribune, and I quote, I don't think parents want their kids indoctrinated in homosexuality. He also blogged about Justin's death, writing, quote, whatever the exact reason for Justin's suicide, it's an enormous tragedy that shouldn't be manipulated for ideological purposes, which is what's being done now. He continues, I'll of course be accused of being unloving, hateful, etc., but it's a loving thing to encourage and promote unhealthy and harmful behaviors and practices. I spoke with Tom Pritchett earlier today, along with anti-bullying expert Rosalind Wiseman, author of Queen Bees and Wannabes. Tom, Justin Auberg's mother says that the bullying that he experienced pushed him to kill himself. You say the bullying had nothing to do with it and that he and other gay teens who kill themselves die because they've adopted, in your words, an unhealthy lifestyle.
What I said is we oppose all forms of bullying, and we're concerned about the promotion of curriculums in the schools which promote acceptance of same-sex marriage and same-sex behavior, but we never said, you know, there's a number of factors involved in his death, and it's a tragedy, and, you know, we feel very badly about that and think this bullying issue needs to be addressed.
But you did say, quote, youth who embrace homosexuality are at greater risk because they've embraced an unhealthy sexual identity and lifestyle.
Well, that was the point the mother made. She said that, and I concur with her. That,
well, she said...
lesbian students... She said that in the Star Tribune editor.
The mother of this boy who killed himself is saying that bullying played a role, and he was 13 years old when he came out.
It certainly could have. We wouldn't deny that it couldn't have played a role, but we never said it played no role. We're saying, you know, obviously there are many factors.
His mom now is trying to get curriculum changes in the school to get other kids who are gay or identify as gay or lesbian in the schools to get them sort of better accepted, to make them feel more comfortable. You say that homosexual activists, in your words, are, quote, manipulating his death to push a gay agenda into schools. I mean, well,
I think that's clearly the situation here. The curriculum, the policy.
But I mean, it's his mom though trying to get the curriculum changed. Are you saying his mom is now a homosexual activist?
No, you've got a lot of homosexual activists promoting this, and our concern is there's a policy dealing with curriculum alone. It doesn't deal with issues of bullying or inappropriate behavior in the schools, and it's a neutral policy saying, hey, you're going to present both sides in the curriculum.
Rosalind, let me ask you about that. You work in a lot of schools. Is that what you're pushing?
For 20 years, I've been trying to get into programs and working with schools to put content into these programs. And if we make it so generalized and just talk about that kids should be nice to each other, our children are not only going to laugh at us, they're also going to think we're incompetent. And that's not acceptable when they are so desperate for our help. And these kinds of programs that are neutral don't do it.
Well, let me ask you, because Tom is saying, look, address the problem, address the bullying. You don't need to necessarily talk about gays and lesbians in specific.
You cannot address bullying without addressing homophobia. You can't do it because so many children are proving that they have to belong, that they are not gay, that they have to be silent in the face of cruelty so they don't get this comment of don't be gay and don't be a fag. And so if we don't address this in more concrete ways and in ways that kids can relate to and visualize and that they think we know what we're talking about, then we are not going to be able to give them the services and the support and the programs that they need.
Tom, to some degree, though, aren't gay and lesbian kids who are 13, 14, 15 coming out at younger and younger ages in schools today? I mean, isn't it important to create a safe place for them, a place where they feel comfortable and good about themselves rather than making them feel bad about themselves?
Studies have shown in Minnesota that large numbers of kids are insecure at their sexual identity, and when you begin promoting and encouraging and endorsing it, more kids are going to say, hey, I'm gay and lesbian, and there's all sorts of
You're using buzzwords like promoting and endorsing and encouraging. I mean, what about just, talking about what is real? I mean, you make it sound as if, there are gay kids, and there are going to be gay kids whether you like it or not. Isn't the question, how do we make them feel okay about themselves, and how do we make them feel safe and want to be able to go to school and get an equal education like everybody else? Rather than, we're not about, it's not about forcing it down somebody's throat. It's about making these kids not want to kill themselves.
Well, I think you assume that there are just gay kids over here and others aren't gay over here, and they all know it. But I think you're injecting a lot of confusion, and you're raising a lot of advocacy issues that we have concerns about, and those are controversial topics. And I think one has to ask, is that really helping promote the mission of the school?
Look, there are a lot of parents around the country who are uncomfortable with the notion of their child learning about gays and lesbians from a teacher or in the school in the way that the parent doesn't want. Now, whether you agree with that or not is up for our viewers to decide. But it is a fact. There are a lot of people around the country who don't want that for their kids. So how do you reconcile that with an anti-bullying program?
Look, I have done work in the most conservative parts of this country, and I have never received pushback from Christian parents, evangelical parents. I have only received support. And the reason I believe I've received that support is because I say consistently and believe it with all my heart that all children, regardless of their sexual orientation, must be treated with dignity. And that is where we begin, and that is where we end.
We've got to leave there. Tom Pritchard, I appreciate your perspective. Rosalind Wiseman, you as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good to be with you.
A quick programming note about an exclusive interview coming up. We've been reporting extensively, as you probably know, on Michigan Assistant Attorney General's apparent focus and targeting of a college student. The college student's name is Chris Armstrong, the University of Michigan's first openly gay student body president. You've heard from the Attorney General, you've heard from the Assistant Attorney General, but not from Chris Armstrong himself. Tomorrow, only on 360, he joins us 10 p.m. Eastern right here. I hope you join us for that. A lot of what happened to Chris Armstrong fits the textbook definition of cyberbullying. Up next, my conversation with 8 teenagers, what they told me about the kind of bullying they've seen in high schools and middle schools, the kind of bullying that follows them home from school and exists all across the internet. Also tonight, Ellen DeGeneres on the fatal humiliation of Tyler Clementi, a college musician with a promising life ahead of him, until video of him with another man was streamed onto the web by his roommate.
He was in the privacy of his own room and had asked for privacy, and these other two people thought it would be funny to not only watch, but then to stream it live is the cruelest thing I can imagine.
The Tea Party American movement is going to grow. On November 3rd, November 2nd isn't the end of this. It's the beginning of this, the reawakening of America and understanding what our foundation is and how America was built and how it became prosperous and generous and safe. And now we need to build upon that.
Suppose Senator John Doe puts forth a constitutional amendment that would outlaw abortion, even in cases of rape or incest, and he asked you to attend the announcement and support him in that. Would you do it?
I would. Yes, a proposal like that, I would stand by it.
Let's be completely clear about the facts here. There is no place in the world and no time in history where restricting women's reproductive rights makes a people or a nation more free or more equal. These extreme positions on abortion are, without any question, a war on American girls and women, and the fact that there are women who are both complicit and participatory in it is really neither surprising nor unprecedented. It has always been true, and it is incredibly important that we recognize that despite the fact that we can be very proud of these women and as politicians, that the question is, how do women as citizens fare on the other side of them either being elected or not elected?